Welcome to In the Garage with Dave and Andres. I am Andres.
I'm Dave.
How you doing today, Dave?
I'm good, man. A little tired, getting older. A little sad. It's the end of the school year. And I was realizing on the way over here, I sometimes have a tough time with those transitions in life, like my kids getting older. So I am not very far away from having two high schoolers,
Eek.
right?
Yeah. Shit.
Um, but part of life and just trying to stay present. How about yourself? How have you been this week?
Recovering from the weekend. It was a very long Memorial Day weekend. We
Mm,
we even took a day to say that we're gonna do nothing, and then we still had people over, not really people, but one of my daughter's friends and her dad came over, just to hang out all day. And so while we don't really have to put on airs for them or anything, it's just still something. We never don't do it. Like we can't not do anything. So yeah, just enjoying the dreariness, looking forward to a rainy weekend where we're like forced to be inside.
yeah.
Um and yeah, other than that, yeah, just tired. Just tired.
Yeah. Just tired. Welcome to humanity.
Yeah, it sucks.
One of the girls I worked with recently, she's a college age kid. I work with a lot of kids that don't want to grow up,
Okay.
right? And then I have to ask them, like, well, what does that mean? And this girl's answer was, it means your back hurts more. I'm like, sure, there's more than that. So I think I've mentioned before, I love this definition. I think it's mostly my definition, but I'm sure I stole it from somewhere that really growing up means the consequences of your action or inaction are greater. They're more consequential. So you fuck up when you're 10,
Mm,
usually not going to be so life altering. You fuck up when you're 30, 50, it can have much more significant consequences.
yeah.
So that's what I kind of fall back on when these young adults are like, oh, like I don't want to grow up or be an adult and have these responsibilities, blah, blah, blah. Like, first of all, not as hard as you think. Have you met adults? Right. Like it's amazing. You watch them drive or see how they function or listen to them talk or how they solve problems. You're just like, wow, okay, I don't have to be like at the top of my game for everything.
Yeah.
So it brings me kind of nicely. I'm very excited because we get to talk about therapy today and all the different types because I find a lot of guys have misconceptions about what it is and don't even know that there's different types.
Mm.
Like, did you know when you were younger that there was like more than one type of therapy?
No, I think when I was younger, it was all the assumption was it was the whole Freudian.
Hmm.
You lay on a couch and you tell some old guy your problems, and they tell you that it stems from your childhood and that you have issues with your parents.
Sounds like every one of my dentist visits.
Heyo.
I always remind people because I get a lot of these young adults I work with that they still think the same thing 30 years later.
Yeah.
Like I have nothing to talk about. I'm like, like that's not all we do here. But I remind anyone and everyone, there is no one size fits all. So there's no like, oh, this is the best therapy hands down for everything, for everyone, for every type of issue. That I think is important to kind of first put out there because we live in a day and age of sound bites
Mm.
and all or none. And like, I'm going to give you 5 ways to fix your life today. Like you look online, that's what every video is. That gets clicks.
That doesn't work.
So I always kind of look at everything with the lens of the big picture, the nuance. So what I do, and I'll kind of share a little bit my background, my training, it's very heavy in the assessment piece. So kind of figuring out, well, what's leading to these difficult areas of either behavior, emotions, socialization, learning, performing, whatever. And then let's intervene. And I have always looked at it where therapy psychological therapy, what psychotherapy, whatever you want to call it, should be equated to physical therapy because the goal is improvement. Most of the practice you're going to do is not in the office, and there is no specific time frame like, oh, after 6 sessions your shoulder will be fixed.
Yeah.
What have you found in the therapy that you've kind of done that surprised you?
Well, I've had different therapies and, full disclosure, I had to text my therapist to find out what specific therapy we've been doing for the last like 3 years.
That's always good.
Uh,
I hope he wasn't too like, or she wasn't like, you don't even know what the hell we do?
yeah, no, she sent a little heart emoji and was like, we do integrated IFS and somatic somatic style therapy. So then I went and looked those up because I didn't want to start getting charged by the hour. So I kid, she's always available. But so I had to look it up, and the somatic therapy kind of ties into what you were just saying, which is that um psychological issues are tied into more than just the mind, that it is a full neurologic, full body response to things. Like,
Hmm.
so it helps where we try to tinker with things based on how it affects me, like my flight, fight or flight syndrome, um, as a sort of neurological response to certain stimuli. Good example would be out of nowhere. I started having like these like minor panic attacks when I was driving on like long, like high looping off ramps,
Mm,
and I had no idea what was going on there. I had, I started kind of, what do you call it? Like, doom thinking. Like, what if I just drove right off this thing? What would happen?
yeah,
I would be,
catastrophic thoughts.
yeah,
Mm.
and so we worked on like trying to focus on calming that neurological response, not so much, trying to get to the bottom of what in my childhood would have made me want to
Right.
like freak out like this, but instead like working on like the neurological response of, okay, so now I'm going into a panic mode. What calms that? Like having a sip of water, or like, chewing gum, like having a snack that, you know, rolls back that whole fight or flight response, because if you're eating or if you're drinking, if you're consuming something, you're not in danger, because typically you wouldn't do that if you were in danger.
It's interesting. There's a bit of, so one of the most popular types of therapies, or the one that most people usually start with, it's CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Most people will say that's the gold standard if you want to
Mm.
change thoughts, which then in turn change how you feel, which then in turn change how you act. So it's this kind of cycle. If you could imagine three arrows with those words in them kind of pointing to each other. And a lot of CBT is based on, we're going to change the way you think about things, but it takes practice. What she was doing with you, it's more like, no, 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 we're going to just have you do these behaviors, eat, drink, whatever. That's going to then tell your body, oh, I don't need to prepare for a survival mode or a stressor. I'm safe.
Yeah.
Then, lastly, my thoughts will automatically calm down,
Right.
which a lot of therapies you'll see overlap. So that's why I'm going to probably say a lot like, there is no perfect, like this one's perfect for everyone. Like, no, you kind of, good therapists will pick and choose from different things. Everyone should learn self calming techniques,
Mm.
right? How do you doing it with your therapist? Like, how do I get myself from a panic state down to a relaxed state? You're mentioning, even, did they talk about mindfulness with you?
Sure. I
Right?
mean, that's a,
It's a,
I think that's almost a buzzword
it
that has
is.
very little meaning unless you attach specific meaning to it.
So I attach it like, Eating and drinking, if you're paying attention to the eating and drinking also, you're adding a mindful component to it because you're focused on the act of eating and drinking, how it tastes, how it feels as you swallow it, how the cold feels, how you react to it.
Hmm.
You're focused so much on that feeling and action. You're not focused on your thoughts, which it's funny. It always blows kids' minds when I work with like the kind of teenagers. I'm like, thoughts aren't real. Like, the fuck you mean? Like, thoughts aren't real. My thoughts are real. You're saying I'm crazy. I'm like, what I mean, like, they're not tangible. Like, they're made up. There's no proof that thoughts are real. You can't see them. You can't measure them. Nobody else sees your thoughts. Once they're gone, there's no evidence that they were ever there, yet they have such impact. And most thoughts, if you think about it, and I don't know if your therapist talked to you about it, they do this in CBT a lot. Thoughts are just noise for most of the time. We attach meaning to them.
Okay.
So a lot of the stuff that just comes in, people sometimes overinterpret the thought. I've had a lot of young guys the last 10 years. If a thought pops in their head that, hey, that's a good looking guy. Oh my God, I'm gay. Why would I have that thought? And then they just spiral. This has happened multiple times. Or even like now, because it's in the news, like, oh, I thought that girl was cute and she's 15 and I'm 20, I'm a pedophile. And then they spiral.
Really?
Oh, and like, so what they do in CBT to kind of dive into it for anyone that goes. So I think a lot of guys are kind of resistant because they don't know what it is. They think like you think. They think, what, I just have to talk to some stranger about like my deepest, darkest, whatever. And how is that going to be helpful? Like the purpose of it is you're practicing new ways of thinking and new ways of reacting to the thoughts. And it takes practice. Like I use that term all the time. Like you practice playing guitar, you practice, typing, you practice running, you practice a new language. The more you do it, you're going to get better. To your point, on the neurological side, they found like you can rewire if you practice enough. Or I know you brought up a while ago, like changing a habit takes a certain amount of days and a certain amount of like times you do it.
Right.
It's the same thing with a thinking pattern, where if the automatic thought is every time I feel tightness in my chest, if my automatic thought is I'm having a heart attack, we have to undo that because that's going to lead, God knows, it's just going to make everything worse. Where if the automatic thought we can tweak to, I'm probably stressed or I probably tweaked a muscle. It's probably not my heart or my lungs, but that takes work. That's very cognitive behavioral. What's nice for a lot of guys and why a lot of guys respond well to this, it's a lot of doing. So I always kind of tell them like there's talk therapy and then there's do therapy.
Okay.
Talking, yeah, I need to talk. We need to get background. I have to get an idea. Or when I've been in my own therapy, like let's get an idea of where these thoughts come from, what the patterns are like, how you react to it, the whole picture. But here's what you're going to do. Here's what you're going to practice. Have you found that when you're with the therapist, she has you do things? It's not just talking like, now I want you to imagine this, or now you're going to do this.
Yes. And we it's not along the same lines necessarily, but um, there is a lot of, like you said, cognitive kind of tweaks that occur. Now I will say that it was a big um, style of therapy when I go into treatment,
Uh-huh.
where they're trying to get you to change the way that you say like reach for whatever self medication preference you have every time you're stressed out, and they promoted a lot of meditation,
Hmm.
um, which, according to scientists, will help rewire those neurons that are firing off in a different way to help aid the changing of thinking. So, um, I've become aware of the fact that, yes, like when I am told to think something else in lieu of, say, whatever catastrophic thought I have, like it could be aided by also sitting down and practicing meditation, uh, even like 10 minutes a day,
Mhm.
which I've stopped doing and really need to get back to.
What kind of meditation? Like listening to a specific sound or noise or
So
quiet?
I went fucking balls deep into the thing, and I bought this I bought this device. Actually, now I forgot the name of it, so haha, no free plug.
Hmm.
But I bought this device that basically it measures your brain waves,
Ah,
and there's an app that connects to it, right? And so you're listening to a, say, an ocean, like just waves rolling in,
right.
and the more busy your mind is, the louder it'll be. So like you can train yourself to slow down, slow it down, slow it down until you're just barely hearing like a
Oh,
trickle.
wow. Almost
Uh,
like a neurofeedback or biofeedback
yeah,
type of measure. That's cool.
yeah, I think that's the term for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot the name of the product. Oh, well, that sucks for them.
Was it helpful?
Yeah, definitely. Like I was getting really good at just kind of locking in for I could lock in for like 20 minutes and like
That's long.
yeah.
I know a lot of people will say, like, I tried meditating, it didn't work. Like, well, yeah, you can only do it like for a minute right now. Like, you're not, again, like that takes practice. Like, you have to. So, the whole idea of getting kind of tying that into the mindfulness, one of the things a lot of these therapies talk about, they train people on being mindful isn't not thinking because people think, like, well, I just won't think.
Yeah.
We're like, no, 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 you're just, if your mind goes to your thoughts, you just kind of remind yourself, oh, let me bring myself back to listening to the waves or, focused on whatever. You're not judging. The goal isn't, I just don't want thoughts. Like brains are not made that way.
Right.
There's another type. So there's this cognitive behavioral therapy, there's offshoots.
Mm,
So there's a lot of behavior therapies, behavior meaning like, we're going to change the way you do things. We're going to change behaviors. We're going to teach behaviors. A lot of it's coping skills. So I always talk to the guys, first thing I want to know is like, well, what do you enjoy? What do you do that you kind of get lost in? For some, it's open world video games and they'll just get lost in a video game and just like exploring the world. And for an hour, they're like, yeah, I just was like in this space and I wasn't thinking about anything. And I was just calm. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of like a therapy. Like, don't let it fuck up your life. Don't play 12 hours a day and now you're getting fired or you're spending like $100 a day on this thing. Um, for some people, it might be poker night with their friends. For others, I know for me, for a while, it's drumming.
yeah.
I'll just get lost in like a groove or a pattern and I have to really focus or I'll fuck up. So that was kind of partly my mindful therapy. There's another type, it's very neat, called acceptance and commitment therapy.
Mm,
So with this one, like the main themes, you're accepting instead of avoiding. So it's not, and it's very good for a lot of guys that like, well, no, I'm not nervous. I can't be sad. I can't be whatever. Where you say to them, like, like, no, you can say, like, I'm really fucking scared. I'm really sad right now. I'm really angry right now. It's a normal emotion. It's fine. The more you fight it, the harder it's going to push at you. So you just, step one is always like, you accept it, like be present, accept it. And then they talk about like diffusion is you don't want to confuse thoughts for facts. I've had so many people tell me because I thought it, it's got to be true.
really?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I thought that I was a piece of shit. So obviously I must be a piece of shit
Mm,
because if I think it, other people must be thinking it.
right.
Isn't that wild?
I could see that.
Yeah.
And do your eyes like turn into little dollar signs when you're like, hey, this person's going to be with me for a fucking while?
It,
'Cause-
it's unbelievable where I'll get both. I'll get the people that'll fight it. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Like, well, the pattern shows otherwise. Like your behaviors and your reactions and your body language and all that shows otherwise. What? Why is it not okay to be a little sad right now or a little whatever? Like, it's okay. And it's so funny to see how people react. These young guys, like 20 something, they'll fall apart sometimes.
Hmm.
And they'll just start crying or start just getting like really upset. Cause I don't think anyone's ever said to them, like, it's all right. Like they were told, like, oh, no, no, you're fine. You know, it's fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
Where I do the opposite. And I've had it, people do with me, be like, you're not fine. Like, you're pretty fucked up right now. It's okay.
Hmm.
And I've folded, just like lost it. Like, oh my God, like, I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation or they've implemented that with you a little where you kind of have to admit, maybe in rehab where they're like, you have to admit that part of the 12 steps is I'm not okay. Like this has become a problem,
Sure. That's the first step, I believe.
right?
Well, yeah, you got to admit that you are not capable of, you have lost control of your life. Um, that's, but for them, that's a way of creating a benchmark hitting bottom, right? So,
Yeah.
like, there's all sorts of ways of hitting bottom, but it's not until you accept that you have lost utter control of your life that, like, you're there. But yeah, I think to accept certain types of emotions, that is something that I've had to practice, right? Like, it's not like it could be a minor thing. It could just be like, hey, what you did there really annoyed me.
Yeah.
And I just want you to know that right now I'm in a very annoyed state. Like, it may not like necessarily do like, I don't know, like if the intended effect is for the person that annoyed you to leave you alone.
Yeah.
It may not do that, but it will allow you to sit with that emotion and begin the process of like backing off of it.
Yeah.
Or at least in my case, it's like, okay, I'm annoyed now. I've spoken my piece about why I'm annoyed. Like, all right, let's roll it back now. Like, because what else is it? What else can I do about it other than what I've done? I've done the most I can do for this particular thing. Or, when you showed up with so and so, that really pissed me off. Like, to be able to speak to your emotions, you don't necessarily have to have a crying fit or smash a wall, but if you speak to them, then you kind of take a little bit of power, control over it.
Well, then you're not avoiding them.
Mm,
And that's what's nice about these two types of therapy. A lot of it is that emotional awareness to kind of look at it. They tell you, you're almost looking at like an experimenter, scientist, an observer.
mm.
Be like, what's going on with me right now? Like, wow, I'm really fucking annoyed. Like, I don't know why, but okay, like I'm annoyed. I can handle it. Let me either do something to calm myself down if I can, or like just kind of do something until this feeling goes away because feelings come and go. It's one thing they always teach you, like you're not going to stay in this state forever. And then to communicate with the other people around you, like, what do you need? The acceptance commitment therapy, they always talk about it's good for addiction because it's about confronting, not avoiding.
Mm.
And most addictions are due to, like you've seen when you were in rehab, and I've seen with the people I work with, it's, well, I'm avoiding this feeling or I want to get rid of it. So I'll use this substance.
Now, do you think that works better in like group therapy settings or?
I think it depends on the person.
Okay.
I think some people do really well with group because the dynamic of having a group and having that relationship and connection with others, it's very not only empowering, but I think it serves this other kind of social purpose that a lot of guys that do well with group therapy obviously need.
Mm.
They need that group, that connection with peers that's all dealing with the same thing. Others, it's just really hard for them to feel comfortable in front of peers, maybe at that point. But I always say to those people, like, you know what? Go, just sit and listen the first few times. Like, no one's going to force you to say anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of guys avoid group therapy because they think like, oh, I have to fucking share all this stuff with strangers. I'm not doing that. Like, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Where then I have to, I'm like, you don't have to say anything. Like, there's no law where you have to talk. Like, you just listen. When you're ready, you say something.
Yeah. And but I could see how, yeah, in a group setting, like when I've gone to group sessions, like it's contagious, right? Like
Yeah.
if you get someone out there that's legitimately opening up, like like you said, empowers everyone to like want to at least feel better about speaking their piece, speaking their emotions and whatnot, speaking to their problems.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's why like as you talk about this, like yeah, like I could see how in the group settings, like this kind of almost was like a waterfall effect for people where you kind of don't want to talk at first, but like as people speak to like how they felt about stuff and how that resonates, like eventually it kind of bubbles over. You want to say something.
Yeah. Um, the therapy that you mentioned first, that's stereotypical. I'm laying on a couch talking to this old guy, sharing everything about my childhood. That's your traditional psychodynamic. So when you hear people say, like, oh, I'm a psychotherapist, that's very Freudian.
Mm,
That usually takes longer. They're diving into some deep stuff. So that you could be on a couch for a couple of years getting into deep things. And it's good for insight. So if you really want to understand, if that helps you, like some of it has helped me just gaining the insight, not through psychotherapy, but it's been helpful for me to understand at least a lot of my ways of thinking and reacting and behaviors are not chemical. Because we were, the last 40 years, everything's like, oh, you have a chemical imbalance. You have a chemical imbalance. It's a chemical imbalance.
mm,
Where they found enough research, like, no, not that simple. Probably the environmental factors might have a little bit more weight than some of the chemical imbalances. Because if you have the combination of you were born with a predisposition of bipolar disorder and you were raised by two people with bipolar disorder who are modeling bipolar actions and behaviors and everything else, you are just primed to be an adult with all these areas that are like really tough for you. So if it helps to know, like, oh, this is where a lot of this comes from and stems from, then yeah, psychotherapy is great if you're open for that.
mm.
Um, Versus, and I wanted you to kind of talk about, because I've seen it, but I've never gone through it. I've gone through like cognitive behavioral. I know you've done some EMDR, which is the eye movement desensitization. That's been kind of the therapy of choice for trauma.
Yeah, and I could see that.
What does it look like?
It has different sort of manifestations. It depends on the therapist. Basically, the main point of it is that they're going to stimulate either lobe of your brain as you're recounting a traumatic event.
Hmm.
So
So you have to actually think about that traumatic event again.
you have it multiple times. So you're going to have to relive it.
Got it.
And what winds up happening. So here's an example uh, for the time. It was like sort of a level set when I was in treatment
Yeah.
because the guy, and I couldn't stress this enough. If the person performing EMDR on you is telling you how they're they've got to go back to class that weekend to finish up their certificate for EMDR, walk right out of the office.
That's good advice.
Walk right out of the fucking office because they are going to fuck your brain up a little bit. So,
Or they're just not ready. Like they don't, you want somebody experienced that's like,
oh yeah,
knows, well, I remember you've said in a previous episode what your reactions were and how you scared your roommate at the time.
yeah, and so basically, you're reliving the traumatic event, and while you're recounting it, there's stimulating you. Like it could either be, I've had one therapist kind of tap my leg back and forth as I'm talking. That can be a little distracting, or they can like bring their fingers back and forth, so you're
Mm.
following their finger while you're talking about the event. Um, Another one, they have like little lights that blink while you're talking that can help. I think the it depends on the person, depends on how whether something is distracting to you one way or the other. But basically, it's a really interesting thing that goes on. So, like the level set that we chose was this situation where I got into a bar fight, um, like right before right before my wedding, and the short version was like somebody like put their hands on my now wife, and once I sized them up and said I could probably beat the shit out of this dude, and grabbed a hold of him, the four unseen guys that he was there with materialized behind me, dragged my ass into a booth, and just started like fucking wailing on my head.
Wow.
um and so as I'm recounting this, right, like, and even as I recount it now, like, I don't have any emotion attached to it, but back then, like, I did, right? There was, initially, like, a feeling of shame, right? Like,
Yeah.
you try to stand up for your woman, but, like, you fucking you miscalculated, and you wound up with your fucking head split open. Um, and that feeling of shame was like, "Okay, let's get rid of that." Um and it was weird, right? So as I'm recounting this, he's stimulating by doing his finger back and forth, and like as I recount it again and again in my mind, because you're trying to relive it, like you're trying to pick out specific like details
Hmm.
of the evening and whatnot. It was almost as like, because when this happened, it was a dark kind of club bar, seedy establishment, and as it's going on, like, it almost felt like someone was turning the lights up on the bar, so it was no longer, like, the same sort of there wasn't that sort of, like, ominousness with the memory,
It's interesting.
and yeah, like, kept going, like, did it a few more times, and then sure enough, like, by the end of it, it was basically as if I was watching it happen,
Yeah.
but I no longer had the emotions tied to the events.
Right.
Like,
So the thought of it didn't cause the panic, the reliving reaction,
right,
like you're saying, where like you have a physiological response. Cause that's for most people that have dealt with like trauma or any traumatic event, the reliving it, like it causes almost like a re experience in their body.
sure. And I mean, you know, the first times I had it done were to help with like some of my like PTSD coming in from the war, where like, you know, you drive around South Florida and there's garbage all over the streets, right? But like we were taught when we were over there, like even if there's a Pepsi can laying in the road, you better fucking get the fuck away from it, because it could
Yeah.
be any little piece of trash can be like a bomb and blow you the fuck up. So like I'm driving around, South Florida, like wildly swerving around trash,
Wow.
instead of like recognizing that no, there's not IEDs going on, like, 441. It's just someone that's a piece of shit and threw some garbage out of their car window. Um, and so that helped take that sort of association with garbage, fear, of death
Right.
away from me. So now it's just like, yes, garbage was a problem in Iraq, but I'm not there, and this is just, evidence of someone being a god, complete piece of shit.
It's so interesting. I've thought about it, but now that you say it, there's a very big problem in our country when vets come home. right? Homelessness, addiction, divorce rates, suicide, all of it. It's
Sure.
terrible. And I know we're going to talk about it in a future episode, which I'm very interested. But even thinking the reorientation to now you are somewhere where you don't have to worry about threat of death all the time,
Hmm.
but you have to turn your brain off of that.
Right.
And if you can't, how can you function? You're just trying not to get blown up by a Pepsi can.
Hmm.
So of course you're going to be on edge. And of course, like work, like fuck work or relationship, whatever. Um, what's interesting hearing you talk about the EMDR and some of these other types of therapies, they found that a lot of people do really well when they're doing a couple of different things. So it might be EMDR for someone dealing with trauma, but they also have to learn really good coping skills and self-calming. That's where, like I was saying, like the cognitive behavioral, there's another one called, have you heard of DBT, dialectical behavioral?
I have heard of it.
It's an offshoot of cognitive behavioral. Dialectical meaning like kind of two,
Mm.
right? So what this is, they talk about um, you have these two different minds. You have like this emotional mind and this logical mind.
Okay.
And what you want to do is you want to marry the two together and be aware of them in a calm and very, healthy place that you can reach to the potential, which is called the wise mind,
Okay.
right? Your wise mind is I'm aware of this emotion. I know my thoughts aren't real, but I'm having a reaction. So I'm a little upset or stressed. My logical mind is telling me, okay, I'm probably stressed because like I have a bunch of work to do, or I have this thing I have to do tonight, or I'm trying to get the dogs to not fucking piss on everything.
Mm.
And then the big part of it for DBT, they talk about we need to regulate your emotions and be able to tolerate stress. So I work with a lot of teens that they do this because they're really not good. Their emotions are like when they react, there are these big reactions where you would think they'd react at a 3 or 4 or something and they're at a 10.
Okay.
And then you're like, well, if you're faced with an actual 10, what the fuck are you going to react like then? Like Jesus, like I don't even want to know.
Yeah.
And to be able to then deal with whatever the stressor is instead of avoid it, or instead of run to a substance, run to whatever. It's very good for guys. It's very systematic. Like day one, we're doing this. These are the strategies. This is what we practice. Day 5 is this. Day 10 is this, or session 5, session 10.
Mm.
So it's really good for like regulating. It's really good in learning like healthier behaviors. It's actually very good when you have extreme thoughts like suicidality, um, where you have something called exposure therapy, which is a little different. Really good for people with specific phobias
Okay.
or OCD. I was talking to a person yesterday about it, where I was saying, your kid is afraid of sleeping in the dark. Exposure therapy, like hardcore flooding, where one of the therapists, like back in the day who coined this term would say, you're going to lock her in her fucking room and turn all the lights off. And she's eventually going to pass out. And you're going to do that every night until she's okay sleeping in the dark.
Okay.
That's like the most extreme version of exposure therapy. Your more gradual exposure therapy is, you know what, night one, you're sitting in a chair next to her in her bed and the lamp is on until she falls asleep. And you're going to do that for a while. And eventually you're going to move your chair farther from the bed, or you're going to dim the light more, or you're going to switch from a lamp to a nightlight, or you're going to then eventually stand in her doorway. So you're just slowly, gradually weaning off and getting used to being exposed to whatever it is that's scary. For somebody like a guy with OCD, it might be, I'm going to expose you to this germ or this thought you don't like.
Mm.
And when you're really stressed with that thought, now you're going to use the tools to calm yourself down until you're calm enough. Now I'm going to expose it to you again. And we're going to just keep doing that until the thought doesn't fuck with you too much.
Okay.
But again, like you said with an EMDR person, You want someone that knows what they're doing, not like, hey, I'm afraid that I might kill my wife. I have this obsessive, intrusive thought that I might kill my wife. You don't want someone going in there and making things worse.
Yeah.
And
Um,
that's a very good, like, I think a lot of guys seem to think like OCD just means you wash your hands all the time. Like, no, no, like it's obsessions and compulsions. Compulsions are the behavior, the obsessions are the thoughts. You might be like in this OCD spiral of thinking that you're not even aware of.
yeah, and, right, because I mean, part of it is thinking that a set of behaviors is going to provide you an outcome or keep you from dying, right?
Yeah,
But yeah, it's interesting because you do have to be wary and be sort of while you got to trust your therapist, I would say like also do some not like internet sleuth research, but a little bit of background research, right? Because like for example, my PTSD came from my own personal fear of getting blown up. Now,
right,
someone else's PTSD could be from the feeling they had when they did get blown up, and now their buddies dead next to them, like the guys in the back are screaming and bleeding and whatnot. It's a horrible situation. EMDR will remove the like emotion from the memory, but you
right,
still got that memory. You still gotta work through like what happened here with your friends and like be able to talk about that to a degree where it's not like negatively affecting your life. Um and all the EMDR in the world isn't going to like help that. It'll get
right,
you to the step where now you can talk about it without like freaking out and like, wanting to like punch a wall. But you gotta you gotta think, talk to a therapist, figure out a plan that's going to help you cope.
So to recap, and I think it kind of brings us full circle perfectly to when you're in the beginning stages. I would say number one, yeah, like there's some research on these things to show, hey, this has been really effective for these type of guys dealing with this. Like, okay, nothing's 100% perfect. Just like you might take Tylenol for your headache, but I need ibuprofen, right? It's okay, but they both can work. So definitely rapport, or definitely like find, yeah, there's research based information. The other part you bring up is a really good one. You want to connect with your therapist.
Hmm.
I really do look at it almost like having a personal trainer. You find the one that fits best for you. And if you're consistent, and the same thing with therapy, there's lots of different therapies that can work for you if you're consistent with it and you have a good relationship with the therapist. Just like there's lots of different exercises that can make you healthier and stronger. Some it needs to be CrossFit. Some it needs to be one-on-one training in a small gym. Some it has to be at home in their garage. And some it has to be at a large scale gym with lots of people and a bunch of friends. But if you're consistent with it and it works for you and you find that, hey, I'm making progress and I'm sticking to it, it'll work.
Hmm.
So there is no, again, like I feel like the opposite of all these influencers and podcasters, right? Like there is no do this and this will save your life in 30 days. This is the best kind of therapy. It's the only one to do. No, like if anyone ever says that, they're full of shit. If anyone ever guarantees you, yeah, like this will change your life in 30 days. This will fix all your problems. No, there is still an art to it. It is not a perfect science, but either is most medicine.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you need different treatments, right? Someone could be allergic to penicillin, but you
Right.
still need a antibiotic. And so you got to get a different one.
The one thing, so the main things I always I take away from myself too, like I've gone through multiple therapists. Um, that rapport is really important where you feel connected and you feel like, oh, like this is going to work. Do your research and you can ask them like, well, what kind of therapy do you usually do? Or where do you pull from? A lot of the therapists will say, I pull different aspects from different therapies that I really like, which is fine. I've like there's a bunch of overlap. A lot of these different therapies teach self-calming strategies. A lot of them teach stress tolerance, how to like not avoid and deal with it. A lot of them teach communication, like you said, labeling it, naming it. So the more kind of vested you're in it and committed, you will make more progress. If you need a group, do group. If you need individual, start there. If nowadays what's nice is there's virtual. If that works for you because your work schedule or whatever commitments, a lot of therapists take insurance. The nice thing with virtual, now the pool is bigger. So you could find somebody that's 300 miles away from you that you just really connect with.
Yeah, I think once again it gets down to who, like, you got to know yourself a little bit, right? Like
Yeah.
what I learned kind of leading up to um everything was like leading up to me having to go to like rehab was that if I do therapy virtually, for me, it almost gives me a green light to kind of bullshit a little bit or
Mm.
muff things, right? Because the visual cues, my normal visual cues are probably not there. I can sit there and just look stoic and look straight into like the camera and whatnot. So, the second go around, I went ahead and made sure I went in person.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, I need someone to call me on my bullshit. I need someone to tell me like, hey, I don't think you're going in enough, or I need someone to recognize when I'm holding back to try to figure out how to a different way to dig, right?
Yeah.
Um, Otherwise, yeah, like it's worthless. It's just a waste of an hour if like if you're not putting anything into it, like it's a waste of an hour. Why bother?
Yeah. And I tell a lot of people that have never done it or that are against it. I've met plenty of guys like, I don't believe in therapy or this. I'm like, well, you've never tried it. Like, try it a few times. And if it doesn't work, you don't connect with that person, you can find somebody else. Or if you're not open to this type, like I said, like your therapy might be I go into the garage and I do woodworking a la Ron from Parks and Rec.
Build a canoe.
Right. I just channel my Nick Offerman. Or I get with the guys every Tuesday and we play pickleball and then we get drinks and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, great. But recognize that's probably serving a purpose. And if that's something you need in your life, right. Like that could be part of what you do. But a lot of the therapy, and I remind the people I work with, it's like physical therapy. The more you practice these things and have those good habits and practice those kind of skills you need to on your own, you'll strengthen your emotional capacity and your stress tolerance levels and your communication skills. So they talk about online, I see it all the time, like, be the most dangerous guy in the room, learn this and that and blah, blah, blah. I like to think you want to be pretty mentally and emotionally well off if you want to be like the toughest guy in the room. You have to be able to deal with failure and stress and significant changes, relationship issues. That's tough. If you can deal with that shit in a non self destructive way, you'll be the toughest guy in the room.
Yeah. Well, also, be cognizant of the fact that most statistically only one person can be the toughest guy in the room. So build the skills to be able to diffuse a situation in case the
Right?
toughest guy in the room comes after you. Not everyone can be the toughest guy in the room, but you can be the most diplomatic person in the room. That's
I heard a
just as
great,
good.
I was watching, I don't know how I got watching that. There's a WWE documentary on Netflix called Unreal,
All right.
I think it's called. Yeah. And it's behind the scenes of everything that's going on. And one of the interviews, I think it was on that, I saw an interview with the Big Show, if you know who he
Yeah,
is. 7 feet, 450 pounds, 500 pounds. Guy's a monster. Like he could probably kill 99.9% of the population if you stick him in a room with them. And he said, like, there was one time somebody was challenging him somewhere and he like got into it with them. And he's like, now that I'm older, I don't know why I didn't diffuse it. Like, I'm more confident in myself. I would have just walked away. I don't need that. Like, I'm a father, I'm a professional. Like, now I realize I don't need to engage in this. I'm just going to leave.
yeah,
Right? Amazing. He could have killed that guy. He's just going to leave. That's something.
it is. I mean, that's wisdom.
It is.
But
And it shows. And he's even talked about, like, as I got mature and kind of dealt with my own demons and my own shit and whatever else, like, I realized, this is not worth what comes next.
yeah,
Right? I'm not so worried about my ego or proving I'm a tough guy or whatever else. Like, that's almost like the opposite of the manosphere shit, right?
yeah,
Like, don't let anyone disrespect you. You should fucking drop them right there and teach them a lesson and be like, that's not manly.
yeah. If anything, it shows a lack of self confidence if that's where where you go immediately.
Right. Like, is your ego that weak that some stranger could say whatever and you're willing to like do something stupid? Like, you let it bother you that much.
Yeah,
Where versus I get if people are putting their hands on your wife, your reaction is going to be like, hey, like, get your fucking hands off my wife.
yeah.
Like in Back to the Future.
Get your damn hands off of her.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get it. George McFly, man. I felt him
but
right there.
but just like George McFly, make sure that he doesn't have buddies when you do it
There you
because
go.
if fucking you know you can when the best you can take away from a physical situation is like, well, he punched me really hard in the forehead, so he probably broke his hand.
Yeah. Um, Getting back to some of the next episodes, I'm excited. We have lined up in the next couple of months. We're gonna talk a little bit about people who serve, guys who serve either military, fire, police.
Hmm.
Um, we've got some people coming on talking about men's mental health policies and the policies that impact them.
Okay.
So kind of like from that big, large scale picture. And along with some other professionals, some talking about like suicide and young men who like have suicidal ideation or have actually attempted suicide. So yeah, we're gonna get into some shit, but I love it.
All right.
If people want to reach out and give us some ideas, how should they do so?
Well, I'm glad you asked, David. Uh, you can always get a hold of us on our Substack in the garage with Dave and Andres at substack.com. You can email us in the garage with D and A, all one word, in the garage with D and A at gmail.com. That's our email that we check all the time. Give us some comments, give us some thoughts on maybe ideas for another show. Also, we have an Instagram. Dave, I'm going to let you handle the social media piece because I don't actually have an Instagram account that I like regularly use.
Sure. Yeah, it's in the garage with Dave and Andres is our tag on Instagram. Our videos also get uploaded to YouTube, I believe.
Yes.
So you can watch any of our videos there. Some it's just an image, avatars of us, which are pretty accurate, scary enough.
The fucking AI, man.
Right? Like I showed my kids, they're like, yep, that's basically what you look like as a cartoon. I'm like, that's awesome. I don't have to pay someone to do that now.
Yeah. I will say you would not have liked the original.
Oh, I can only imagine what I look like. I don't look great in person.
Yeah,
So,
we were both. It was problematic for both of us. I had to take it from one AI to a different AI.
okay.
Yeah, try, do better, do best.
Jeez.
But also you can just get the audio versions on Spotify and Apple Podcasts in the garage with Dave and Andres. We are all over the fucking place, man.
Yeah, we have a digital footprint.
We have a digital footprint. Uh, but yeah, any closing thoughts as we finish up this week?
No, just I hope this was informative. I think it's always interesting to give people a peek behind the curtain. Like this is what goes on here. This is really what it looks like. You don't have to guess, or you don't have to ask, or you don't have to worry or avoid. Like this is what therapy is, and there's different types, and you could find one that works for you. There's enough of them.
Hmm.
That's what I want to leave it with.
All right. Well, having said that, we will see you next week.
See you next week.